In today's session of Market Movers, we will be taking a look on the Nasdaq's unstoppable bull run. And in today's session, Nasdaq is fairly close to its all-time highs, and if things turn out, it might even go on to close on the record highs. So in this week, we are likely to see formation of fresh all-time highs in the Nasdaq. And looking at that possibility, we will see if there are any emerging opportunities for us to exploit the situation to our advantage. If you consider the trading context for the day, earlier in the day during the Asian trading hours, we got these GDP numbers for the Japan, and here for the second quarter, the quarter ended June 2020, the Japanese economy has experienced a contraction of 27.8% in annualized term, and this is the sharpest contraction on the record. And here it was not like unanticipated, it was pretty much anticipated, as the coronavirus outbreak is taking a huge toll. And to tackle that, the Japanese administration had imposed lockdown, and because of that, the businesses have suffered. And I think situation is likely to improve to some extent in the third quarter of this year. Then for the rest of the Asian economies and even for the Europe, there was not much on the data docket. Even for the US, apart from this Empire State Manufacturing Index, there is not much on the data docket. And if you consider this New York State's manufacturing index, it has come lower than the prior month reading and a lot lower than the anticipated levels. For the month of August, it has come at 3.7%, 3.7 compared to almost 17 in the month of July. And this is indicative of the fact that earlier sharp recovery we saw after the contraction in the months of March, April. Now again the things are leveling off, or to certain extent even going lower, as this coronavirus outbreak is yet to be controlled fully, and the effect is likely to linger in coming months. Now let's move on to the technical outlook. Here we will first see the Nasdaq, and then we will consider the Euro USD's technical aspects. Let's start with the Nasdaq technical outlook first. This is the daily time frame chart, and here past couple of sessions we have been seeing this identical chart. Of course, with each passing day we see this formation of a new candlestick here, and in today's session these are the values taken for the future derivatives, the CFD, and it is as I said, not far away from the all-time high, and the probability is there that we will see fresh all-time highs being established in the Nasdaq. This bull run has been kind of unstoppable, and it has turned the bearish trend to the bullish trend, and from there on it has continued to rally higher. This earlier peak of just little higher than 10,000 now things seems like a tad dwarf. Here you can see the comparison on the chart as well, and this was the prior all-time high before this contraction set in due to the coronavirus outbreak. And now that's a distant memory, and the Nasdaq has behaved like nothing has happened. Actually, the many components which form the index have actually kind of benefited because of the trend in the work from home environment and online ordering, and being the index based on the technological companies, this has reflected in the Nasdaq well, and many of the companies have changed, uh, have actually seen change their fortunes on the higher side. The likes of Amazon, Microsoft, and Netflix have seen the demand surge, even the Apple, and because of that we are seeing this rising valuation, and of course not to forget the easy monetary policy of the Federal Reserve. So this upsurge is likely to continue at least for foreseeable future, and unless and until we see a substantial turnaround in the daily time frame chart, I think the underlying momentum is likely to remain on the bullish side. So the best thing we can do is adopt a buy on dip strategy whenever we feel that there is a good enough correction and now is the time to go for fresh positioning, and it should serve you well. So this is the 4 hourly chart here, and this is the pivot point series drawn on the monthly time frame for the month of August, and we are not really far away from the first resistance of this month's pivot point series. In the earlier instance, we saw this fall back on the lower side close to 11,000 after getting close to this resistance zone, and again here we have reached almost this level, but for last 2 to 3 sessions the price action has kind of consolidated on this range just above this 11,000 zone. On two occasions we saw the revival happening closer to 11,100, and in today's session there is this continuation of the upward momentum, and even I am betting on the possible break above this immediate swing high, and then that will open up the possibility of the Nasdaq moving toward the second resistance, that is almost 4 percentage point away from the current valuation. So looking at that possibility, I think we can indeed see if there are any opportunities for us with optimum risk reward ratio. Here the regression curve is also pointed higher, and again, though it has been in the upward trajectory only, again it is trying to steepen, as you can see this change in the curves. Now moving on to this hourly chart, here we have strong support zone because of these prior swing lows as well as this confluence of 100 and 200 SMA just close to 11,100 zone. So taken together, unless and until there is a clear break below this immediate support zone, just little below 10,000, sorry 11,100, I think the short term perspective should also be on the bullish side, and any entry anywhere close to this 50 SMA should be good enough in today's session. In a Friday session, I had talked about the possibility of getting involved for a long trade, for a buy trade around these prior swing low, and this 11,100 zone really proved to be a good opportunity if you had gone for that trade, and if you did you might be sitting on a fairly good amount of profit, and I would say that you should continue to hold on to the positioning, and on the higher side we can indeed expect a break above these prior swing highs, and then the near term support is going to shift on the higher side, and also the near term resistance will be crossed, and till next resistance zone we don't really have to be bothered too much, and as I said, the momentum is on the bullish side, and for that we have multiple reasons to be optimistic of the Nasdaq continuation of the bull run. So here on the lower side, watch out for these crucial levels, and I think on the lower side stop loss of 11,000 should be good enough. So as long as the price action is taking above 11,000, there is not much to worry about from the short term to medium term perspective, and any entry in this price band of 11,100 to 11,200 should be good enough. Of course, this is a wise price band of almost 1 percentage point, but then the Nasdaq's momentum has been strong and it is likely to continue, but of course once in a while it will give us an opportunity after correction on the lower time frame, so we should lap it up and see how far it goes. Now let's shift our attention to the Euro USD, which is also in the bull run of its own, and it is pretty much knocking on the levels of 1.2, and let's see if there are any opportunities for us. So this is the daily time frame chart, and it is consolidating close to the 100% Fibonacci expansion of its prior run from 1.08 levels to 1.14, and then we saw this consolidation around 1.12, and again the next leg of rally started, and this consolidation is kind of shallow. That means that the underlying momentum is strong, and the Euro USD is likely to continue to trade with bullish bias, and if we want to profit from such a scenario, all we have to do is look for buy opportunities whenever we see good enough correction, and of course we have to be worried about the risk reward ratio as well. So from the conservative perspective, all we have to do is find at least the risk reward ratio of 1 is to 2, and well, our job will be done. So here in trying to find these bullish opportunities in the Euro USD's move on the higher side, we have to take the help of these lower time frame charts like 4 hourly and then also hourly we will see. And here you can notice this sideways momentum where the lower side, the levels of 1.17 have been acting as a strong support for the Euro USD. Here we saw this revival happening twice. Even this instance, here we have this turnaround point, and this is higher than the prior swing low, and that kind of bodes well for us with the possibility of the continuation of this up move with formation of higher lows and respectively the higher highs can be anticipated in coming session. So here this move is I think is likely to continue. Of course we can experience some resistance as we get close to this prior swing high, and even in today's session we indeed saw some selling pressure coming in the euro and pushing the euro lower, but again on the lower side the strong support zone is there. So from the short term perspective we will have to mostly now rely on the hourly time frame, as on the 4 hourly chart the next support is kind of far away, and I don't think it's prudent to take that much risk. This regression curve is indicative of the fact that momentum might be waning, and the price action is likely to remain sideways. And if even if that is the case, all we have to do is keep our stop losses and targets sharp, and from that perspective also the only thing that can guide us is this SMA formation and the price action. So here we have these prior swing highs and prior swing lows in the vicinity of 1.18, and the levels have not changed much from Friday station. There we saw this support base, and our anticipation have actually done pretty well, and the prospects where any buying trade in the vicinity of 1.18 has proved well, and in today's session we are actually sitting on the profit. But now in today's session I would say that we have to focus on this 50 SMA area here, and for today's trading session, any fresh buy opportunity in the 50 SMA zone should be exploited, and of course the stop loss will need to be kept just little below these prior swing lows, and I think that should hold well in today's session. Of course we can't really be certain, but a entry anywhere close to 1.183 or 1.182 with the possible stop loss in the vicinity of 1.178 should good should do well in today's session. Of course we are not kind of totally certain, but the probability is good that on the high side we might see the break above 1.19 zone, and that will give us the probability of Euro USD continuing to move higher and eventually going on towards 1.2 zone as well. So if we are looking for a risk reward ratio of 1 is to 2, we can keep our targets closer to 1.195, and for a risk of around 50 pips we will be targeting on the higher side the target price of around 110 to 120 pips, and that will as I said, the risk reward ratio will be more than 1 is to 2. And the formation is also kind of conducive to our setup. We have this golden crossover in place, the 50 SMA trading above these 200 SMA, and also these 100 SMA is likely to cross above these 200 SMA in coming hours. So from that perspective as well, and even these price action, this consolidation and then resumption of the upward move closer to 1.18 zone gives us confidence that this momentum is likely to prevail in coming sessions, and from that perspective we should continue to look for buy opportunities in the euro usd. So that's it from my side for today's session. If any of you have any query or any idea to share, you can write it in the comment section and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. Before I sign off, I would also like to remind of the risk associated with trading in the financial instrument, and one should be careful while using the information provided. Have a fabulous day ahead. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.